Cover crops are sometimes referred to as green manure. They are planted to cover the soil outside the growing season and usually not for the purpose of being harvested. However, big farms do plant some cover crops that they harvest to feed cattle and other animals after their use. There are many benefits of cover crops. They're planted to protect the soil from erosion. It also takes up and holds nutrients, increases soil biological activity, and it adds organic matter if it's tilled into the soil, improves soil structure, increases the water holding capacity, and some legumes fix nitrogen for use, and it also suppresses weeds, and it usually increases yields the following time. Discovering diverse cover crop mixes between crops helps make better care of the soil so that it can take better care of us. Healthy soils are fundamental for life on Earth, so we need to do all that we can to help improve the soil and pass on to future generations. Usually, cover crops are planted in September to mid-October, which is the ideal time before that they can get started before winter sets in. The first step in using cover crops is to choose what cover crop you want. The desired purpose that you're desiring usually determines the most appropriate species. Like if you're trying to provide nitrogen, then you want some legumes. If it's a surface mulch, you want something that'll die in the winter, and then you can use no-till and it can just be a mulch. Heavy biomass means that you're going to till it in and add the bio to the soil. Also, you can use as weed suppression. There are four main classes of cover crops. First, grasses such as rye, barley, winter wheat, and so forth. Legumes such as clovers and peas and alfalfa. Then brassicas such as radishes or mustard, and they're a special one that produces a chemical that helps to fumigate the soil for bad nematodes and other things. And then there's really a classification that's not a true classification. It's just non-legume broadleaves such as spinach and flax. So once you decide, you need to prepare your bed. Before planting, you want to remove any debris and large stones. Break the garden beds and plots until the soil is level and smooth and loose on the surface. And the third step is to plant the seeds. You want to at least have about 4 weeks before cold winter starts in so that they can germinate and get a good start. I usually broadcast the small seeds over the soil and just rake it lightly. I have already planted my mustard, and it's already up and going. The larger seeds, if you want, you can use a shallow furrow to plant the seeds and then cover them. If the soil is dry, you want to water until winter season sets in. For the rest of the winter, you can just kind of sit back and relax. Then come spring, about 2 or 3 weeks before you plant your spring crops or vegetables, you turn the cover crop under and allow the organic matter to decompose. There's also the ones that are no-till, they'll just die off in the winter and you don't have to do anything. You can use it as a mulch and plant right in the mulch. If the cover crop is too tall to turn under easily, you can cut it first. And if you will be transplanting vegetable seedlings or planting crops with large seeds such as beans, corn, you can cut and leave the some of the mold cover crops right on the surface rather than mixing in the soil. Don't allow cover crops to go to seed before you do this to prevent them from competing with your food crop. Grasses are a good choice of a cover crop if there is a need to scavenge nutrients, especially nitrogen left over from previous crops. They also produce large amounts of residue and add organic matter to the soil. Grasses are high in carbon than legumes, so when they break down in the soil, the residue tends to last longer, which can be beneficial for weed control and increasing soil organic matter. Legumes like clovers and petcha and peas are cover crops that fix nitrogen in the soil. So it can prevent erosion and add organic matter to the soil as well. Many of them will die over the winter, and then you can just use them as a mulch, or you can put them in for biomass. So if you want to fix nitrogen and have biomass as well, suppress weeds, the legumes is a very good one to do. Brassicas, or radishes, turnips, rhapsodies, and mustard, and they offer a special benefit as a cover crop. They are good biomass, but they also, if you break up the leaves and chop them up and then till them in, they have a natural product that's developed from the thiocyanates. You get an isocyanate, which is toxic to the pathogens and soil-borne microbes. They're not harmful for the good ones. The potato industry uses mustard a lot in getting rid of their ringworms and bad nematodes. Then there's just a broad thing to say to cover other types that produce a large biomass, such as soybeans and flax. One of the most effective cover crop management is use a mix of legumes and non-legumes to combine the benefit of biomass, nitrogen scavenge, and weed control erosion. This is an example of a cover crop mix. You can buy it already made. It's winter rye, field peas, ryegrass, crimson clover, and heavy vetch. It's a vigorous late summer growth, provides winter erosion. The peas and cover and ryegrass will winter kill to provide organic matter and soil cover. Heavy vetch and winter rye will regrow in the spring to provide nutrients for crops to utilize. They will have to be tilled or cut, the roots cut. There are many seed companies that offer cover crop seeds and for selling, including no-till types of mixtures. This is just a list of 4 that offer smaller quantities for home gardeners. You can also buy 50, 100-pound bags of these cover crops from bigger companies that cater to the farm industry.